Hello, everyone, and welcome to this live interview with KMD Books, live interview with the wonderful Karen Perks, who is author of this amazing book that is out just creating amazing conversations in Australia and will be globally about a very important topic that's very close to my heart, which is misdiagnosis. And I'm going to read for you the blurb of this book so that you can understand a little bit better. And then the wonderful Karen is going to come and join me, and we're going to have a nice conversation. If you have any questions, please drop them in the chat wherever you're watching from, whether you're on YouTube, or Facebook, LinkedIn, or even on Instagram, and we will answer them and maybe bring your question up for Karen to answer. Okay, guys. So, Mum, Please Help Me is a powerful true story of resilience, relentless advocacy, and a mother's unwavering fight against a broken healthcare system. When Karen Perks' daughter Michaela suffered her first seizure, their family was thrust into a medical maze, 21 emergency visits, 30 doctors, and a diagnosis that didn't make sense. Dismissed, gaslighted, and ignored, they faced a system more focused on protocol than patient care. But Karen refused to back down. With meticulous records, fierce determination, and an unshakable belief in her daughter's truth, she battled for answers. This book is a harrowing personal journey and a rallying cry for change. It sheds light on the devastating consequences of medical misdiagnosis, the power of parental intuition, and the urgent need for a healthcare system that truly listens. Mum, Please Help Me is a testament to the strength of love, the importance of speaking up, and the fight for every patient to be seen and to be heard. Welcome, Karen Perks. Come join me on stage. How are you going?
Thank you so much, Karen. Great. Yes, great.
Well, it's great now to be the other end of this, but we have journeyed for a long time, and I know what you've went through. You know what I've went through, so I can totally relate. And I know that we are not the only two mums in the world who can connect with this. And you have given such an amazing voice to this. And last week, an ABC interview went out live, and I think it's hit over 800,000 views. And people have been reaching out to you, and you are helping them by sharing your information with others and sharing your story so that others do not have to go through what you went through. So can we just first talk about, I suppose if we go back to the beginning and talk about what was happening, like 200 seizures, your daughter, your intuition's going, oh, this isn't, what's happening here isn't right. You have to be totally alert, on board all of the time, advocating, knowing that the answers you're getting is not the right ones. Can you just speak to that, Karen? Because I'm sure it was a whirlwind.
Thanks, Karen. The first time, and I think to go back, my experience in healthcare has always been really positive. You know, I was diagnosed with cardiomyopathy, which is heart failure, when Michaela was actually 6 weeks old. The care has been, amazing. I've never ever questioned healthcare. And then with Michaela, the first time was first experience into ED. It was like, oh, okay. It was a little bit dismissive. We'll see what happens. It could have been one-off. And you kind of accept that as a parent. It's like, oh, maybe you had a cold. Maybe, we make up these excuses for, and not actually look at, okay, is there something that we should be questioning further? Then the second time it happened 3 or 4 days later, it was like, well, this is now I'm a little bit more concerned. Off to hospital we go again. Symptoms are getting, the seizures are a little bit longer. But at that particular hospital we were, like, it got so bad. She seized in the waiting room, and the nursing staff said, oh, don't seize there, as I'm yelling out for help. Don't seize there. The floor's dirty. And at that point I'm thinking, did I just hear what I thought I heard? And how ridiculous and cruel is what you've got a 19-year-old at that stage seizing in the waiting room on the floor, and you're telling me, just as they're sitting behind the desk, just sit there, just do, the floor's dirty. Don't do that. It's like, well, she hasn't just, had a hissy fit, or, a tantrum. She's amazing. So that resulted in a complaint to the HCCC, which is the New South Wales Healthcare Complaints Commission. And that was my first exposure to challenging. It was that particular night, it was barrier after barrier, doctors going, no, I'm wrong, they're right, I'm wrong. And it was just this constant pushing, and it's like, well, this is not right. So anyway, first complaint went off, resulted in nothing. So that was a waste of time of effort. Then 3 days later, next round of seizures. And at this point, I'm now getting worried. There's a pattern. A healthy 19-year-old does not have, 3 lots of clusters of seizures in a week, and there's nothing wrong. So that resulted in an admission to first cardiology, but then, and this was our first experience where you talk about single organ medicine, where they go, oh, not our organ, and then push you off to the next specialty. So off we go to neurology, and I'm saying, yeah, but cardiology hasn't finished. And the neurologist who came to visit Michaela said she didn't think it was neurological, but we'll do some tests and make sure. And I was fine with that. Like, yes, let's eliminate anything that, we visually can't see. But then she never went back into cardiology, and she never went on from those tests, which showed that there was nothing wrong, nothing neurologically wrong. And so then she was in there for 10 days. And then on the last day, the resident doctors come out and gone, oh, well, she's got FND. And I'm going, whoa, where did this come from? What is it? And I was sitting there working. And so now I'm quickly researching, FND, which is functional neurological disorder. And he gave me this lovely brochure which showed, the pattern of, seizures, or the elimination process. And I'm scanning this so fast. And he's trying to walk away, and I'm going, hang on, buddy. I haven't finished asking questions yet, and you've just dumped us with a diagnosis, a psychological diagnosis, and no real proof that it's a psychological cause. So Michaela was told she couldn't drive for 12 months. And at that point, I didn't have an issue with her not driving, because she was unsafe to drive for herself and community. So that was not an issue. The issue was that they didn't stop to talk about why and how they got to the FND diagnosis. What's a management plan for it? What, where can we navigate? Where's the help? It was, here's your diagnosis, see you later. And that was probably the point where I knew we were in trouble. It was such a, and then I left Michaela there, and I rang and, trying to get onto the GP, trying to find out anything. We left there, and everything just got worse. Her seizures were, I called them clusters of seizures. They would last longer. They were more intense. They were more frequent. They were within, month 3 from the first seizure, she was having 14, 15 seizures lasting 15, 17 minutes each, unconscious the whole time through, from seizure 1 to when she'd wake up. She was admitted to ICU. But then that became, oh, well, we can't do anything for her. And I'm going, yeah, but you haven't investigated the physiological causes, which was in this initial brochure that we were given. No, it's psychological. I said, but you had the research I'd done at that time, up to that stage, clearly said that you have to eliminate all the physical potential causes of seizures before you default to a psychological cause. And Michaela didn't have any trauma, or any trauma that would even be sensible in that diagnosis. So then I started to record all of basically her life in a spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet then started to show a pattern. And in the meantime, all the doctors were trying to do was substantiate the FND diagnosis by going, oh, it's not epilepsy, so therefore it's FND. And as I kept bringing them back to this brochure, no, the epilepsy, non-epileptic seizures, FND, and physical causes. We need to look at the physical causes. So what I was starting to do in the spreadsheet was then it identified there was physical activity resulted in seizures in the clusters. But during this whole stage, it was the gaslighting. And the gaslighting is when they say things that make you feel like you, one, not believed. That's the first thing. Two, they turn words around, like there's subtle differences between non-responsive and unconscious. But, she was in ICU unconscious. But then they'd say, oh, she's not unconscious, she's only non-responsive. And then I'd say, well, let's look at the definitions. And so here I am, trying to have a intelligent conversation with the doctors to work out why they're thinking what they're thinking, not just to be dismissive to, oh, we've got a neurotic mother who is asking us too many questions, who's pushing back. And then it got so bad that there were neurologists, and we had 30 odd doctors across multiple specialties. Neurology was probably the worst. They were so fixated on the FND diagnosis versus finding an underlying cause that was physical. What I identified, there was no central management system or person. It was silo. Everything was silo. So gastro was silo, psychology was silo, neurology was silo, cardiology silo. There was no team approach to Michaela's care. It was, she went in, she was seizing, so to whichever neurologist, but not actually there's no central point of transfer of patient care or patient knowledge and experience. The worse it got was she was seizing one night. We're in ED. The neurologist came in and he said, oh, well, she can be transferred to neurology. And I went, she's seizing. You have no care up there. She goes into dark wards. Your nurse to patient ratio is not high enough to care for an unconscious seizing patient. And then by that stage, I was then starting to retrieve procedures from the health system website and wherever I could find them, public information. And so there was documents that were very clear about where does a patient go when they're seizing. And the ward was not where they went when they were seizing. It was in intensive care, and there's different levels to intensive care, but a high level of care. And
you had to become an investigator, didn't you, Karen? You had to become an investigator yourself to save your daughter's life. Had you just accepted, can you even fathom, if you had have just accepted, and I'm so sure so many people have had to accept an FND diagnosis and just try and get on with life and navigate all of these seizures, what would have been like? I know you have advocated, you have went and done your own investigation, and you found what it was, which everyone will hear in a moment. But can your mind, I'm sure it's bound to go back to, what if I had have just accepted that?
Oh, often. And when I was in the hospital, it was, if I can't navigate this, how does everyone else do it? And that was more of a, oh my God, this is so bad. I had no idea how bad it was. And to answer your question, Michaela would still be seizing. We would still be in this hamster wheel of seizing, nausea, the symptoms, the no work, the no life, the no drive. Like it would be horrendous, absolutely horrendous. But just to give an idea of, and we'll go on to, what I did, how bad it was. There were nights when there were 2 occasions when I contemplated calling the police to come and protect Michaela from the doctors. Now, how do you get to that? How do you get to that mindset? Like I'm rational. I can articulate, concerns. The reach number, they wouldn't. They'd answer it, and then you're supposed to respond in 30 minutes. 3 hours later, and I'd ring every 30 minutes. Where are you? What are you doing? Oh, well, there's nothing wrong. No, I'm calling a line that you have in your system and your procedures as your next level of care. So at one point it became a bit of a game because I wasn't going to let them win, and I knew they had procedures to follow, and that sort of stems back from my professional life where where everything is about procedures and policies and structure and organizational structure and etc. So I knew that the health system a hospital is just an organization. They have so many policies, they have so many rules. How are these staff? Then I started to question, well, how are these staff saying different things when there's supposed to be one set of rules? And then I'd get comments like, oh, they're just guidelines. And here I am with procedures with mandatory written over it. And so then it was, well, these procedures say mandatory, and in my language and dictionary, mandatory means mandatory. It's not a guideline. It was just this constant, it was surreal. There was constant pushback around anything that I would say. I'd ask for Michaela to see her patient records, and I said, I know she's over 18, she needs to sign. Michaela's going, yep, I approve, Mum, to have a look at them. And then I was told, you won't understand them. And it's like, oh, well, give me a go. That's not the point whether I'm going to understand them or not. And then it was, only the doctor can read them to you. No, I don't believe that's what the legislation says. And so then, there was this continued gaslighting about these procedures. And so in the end, I end up finding the 2 legislations around the patient records and what patients are allowed to view. So then I printed out the legislation. So in I go with my folder and the 2 legislations printed out and sections marked, and then I'd get barriers as to, oh, you need to fill a form in. Fine. Where's the form? Oh, well, it's in somewhere else. Well, you should have them on hand. Oh, then you need to do this, and then you need to do that. It's like, and then I'd do them, and then I'd be told something else. Like, it was just these continuous barriers to everything. There was no help to move or navigate through. So I suppose the question is, what did I do? Well, we probably already know why I did what I did, because
that's the thing, but it just goes to show it's a system that's overwhelmed, that they have to keep pushing it out, so that they can't just give it to you. They have to, obviously somebody need to go over it or something, so they had to push it out and keep pushing it away from you, hopefully that you would go away, but then realizing that wasn't going to happen. So what did you do next, Karen?
So the spreadsheet showed there was a pattern. So then I started to, and in my naivety, I took the spreadsheet in. I'd done some lovely graphs, as you can do in Excel, to show increase in length of seizures, deterioration in a frequency of seizures, the length of the seizures, the number, how long she was unconscious for. Very pretty. It would look fantastic in any proposal or submission. This spreadsheet was like 8 A4 pages. I'd get it out, I'd put it on Michaela's bed, and no one would look at it. No doctor would engage in conversation to what I had found. And all I wanted them to do was to go look at what I had uncovered as far as the pattern, and to work out, then take that information away.
You were meeting them or they were meeting you, but they were only comfortable with you being the patient's mother and not in just, and them, but you were meeting them. You'd done the effort and met them where they were meeting you with all of these things. And then, you know, oh, so go on, sorry.
That's right. So then I was pushed back, and then I became desperate. There was one night when they just pushed back so far. You don't know what you're doing. What do you want us to do? I'm like, well, very clearly, I want you to look at what the information I'm providing you and think about what's happening in the body. Take a holistic approach and think about what is happening in the body that would then cause seizures. Oh, she's stressed. No, she's not stressed. She's having seizures when she's taking the dog for a walk on the lake. She's having seizures when she's sitting watching a sunset. She's having seizures at work when she's laughing. She's having seizures. There's two photos in the book that like 3 minutes apart. One was Michaela and her sister Alana and our dog Mika, at a beach. Beautiful sunset, like it's an Instagram worthy photo. The next photo, 3 minutes later, head in the sand, seizing. Now you can't tell me that a sunset and playing, you know, in the foreshore in the water is enough to cause seizures on an FND diagnosis. So anyway, so I was desperate. They were ignoring me. All I can see was that this was going to go on forever if I didn't help ourselves. So I started to do research on medical journals. You know, what other causes, what other symptoms cause seizures. So just sort of started broadly, and then, but there was so many articles, and then there was articles on when FND is not the correct diagnosis. So now I'm going down this Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole, and the number of medical journals was phenomenal. So then one night I came home after being at the hospital, checked my emails, and there was a TEDx talk. And I, as you do, love TEDx. And it was an article, a 15-minute speech by a cardiologist in the US, who a team of them were using AI for undiagnosable illnesses, like patients who'd been sick for 8-10 years and no cardiologist had been able to solve the problem. So they decided, and this is probably going back 4 or 5 years ago, to use AI. And the results, and then use the traditional cardiologist to, they're basically running two parallel teams. The AI team was able to diagnose something like 85%, and the cardiologist 55 or 60. There was a significant difference. And at that moment, I went, oh my God, because we use AI for analysis in our business, my business, and I can use AI. So then that's another, so I used AI I uploaded all the medical journals, I entered the symptoms, I entered the results, and within 20 seconds, it had 6 potential diagnoses. 2 of them were what she actually ended up having, or it's not ended up having, is what she had. One of them was, and then one was FND. So the other 3, but it narrowed down the 2 organs that were mucking up. And then I said, well, let's hypothesize. Let's say she doesn't have FND. And at that stage, she'd spent like 4 or 5 months with a psychologist and from the hospital. And the best they had was that she had a fear of vomiting, was the reason she was having trauma, and that was causing the seizures. And I said to Michaela, I said, well, I'm not sending you back there, whether you want to go or not, because that is just like, that's bizarre. I said, the only people who have a fear of vomiting are the majority of the population have a fear of vomiting. It's not something everyone loves to do. So I said, okay, AI, let's assume she doesn't have FND. And then it really started to get fancy. And so then I was uploading, and then it enabled me to refine the medical journal searching I was doing. And then, kept asking it different questions, look at it from this angle, look at it from that angle. And so then I took the AI report, because you can copy it. I just put it into a Word document, took it to the doctors because she was still seizing because I hadn't managed to get to a doctor who could help me work out why the endocrine and the GI system were doing what they were doing. And they didn't want to know about it. They, again, so I thought their arrogance to the spreadsheet was bad. Well, I got another education lesson in arrogance when a patient's mother tries to bring in information from AI. But then I realised they actually didn't know what they were talking about, because some of the doctors were saying, oh, you shouldn't be Googling. And at that point I went, oh my God, you actually don't even understand the power of AI and what I've been doing.
It's not Dr. Google. It's not Dr. Google. It's because you feed it all the information and then it deciphers it and gives you results. And that has become a big part of your advocacy moving forward, isn't it? What the work you want to do is to educate doctors on how this can help, because it's lives, Karen. Like how long was these 200 seizures over? Like, your life was consumed with this. Michaela's life was consumed with this, and you weren't getting answers, and this was what it was going to be like for the rest of her life. That was the prognosis, really, is just get on with it. But you didn't accept that. You knew there was something more. And we have to understand that, yes, doctors are amazing. They do amazing work. They save a lot of lives. But there's also sometimes when they can get it wrong, because they are human, and things change. And this has to be embraced, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And it wasn't the research I've done after. So to answer the one question, first seizure was end of June 23. The last seizure was the 11th of March 24. But the part of from when I found the information and one doctor who listened until when she had her last seizure was 3 weeks. And 3 weeks from when he said to me, are you using, Michaela, using a continuous glucose monitor so that we can have a look at, what's happening in the glucose system. We had the device within 4 days. We looked at it for 2 days because it's like, wow, is this all it's going to take? And then from there, the device, we could see when her blood glucose was dropping and we could intervene. And she has not ceased. She's now doing marathons. This weekend she's got the Canberra Marathon, the half marathon, 21 kilometres of running. That was just we didn't even begin to even think about how to leave the house, let alone run half a marathon.
Oh my God. Like, just to think about that I understand glucose monitoring because my daughter's got type 1 diabetes, so I understand it and how it saves lives, because whenever your sugars get so low that you go into seizures or even a coma, that's possible as well. And all they need is some sugar, some glucose.
Oh no, it's just bizarre. And you've got to right. Like
quality of life. She's got her life back now. You've got your life back now because you're not consumed in trauma and worry, despair, and this knowing that something isn't right. That every mother will have. Whenever you know something's right, you can't let it go. You can't focus on anything else until you understand that. And you have to pour into them. It takes so much effort and that's why we need doctors working with mothers, because we do. And intuition there's a science behind it too, we're so connected to this child because doctors are coming in and out. They've got lots of patients, whereas we're our direct line of contact to our child, and we know.
And that's what I also identified through the process, is this disconnection in who was the central point of contact and driver of the health system, or the reports that were coming back. And to stop this silo, there was no follow-up discussions. It's so disjointed when you're trying to find a complex diagnosis and you're seeing multiple doctors. and you're still having symptoms. There was no mechanism to address that.
And you're expected to trust this. You're expected to
Oh, yeah.
entrust all of your. That's the thing as well.
And
they're not communicating.
Yeah. So the approach that we're wanting to do, it has to be upstream, downstream. So upstream is directly to doctors. What we've uncovered is that from some medical journals from the Australian Medical Association is a report in 2020, or a study in 2020 showed that 141,000 misdiagnoses in Australia in a year. Of that, 80% are preventable, really important number. Of that, even more alarming is that 75% are caused by cognitive bias. The doctor's view on the role that the mother plays, racism, sex, gender, age, socioeconomic status. Like there was even situations where I would come in because I knew that you go into hospital, you're there for a long time. So it was tracksuits,
Yes.
jumpers, sneakers, nothing fancy. And I felt like I was treated as nearly a second-class citizen sometimes. So there was one time I had to go home, so I thought, I'm going to try something. So I put the fake makeup on, did the hair, corporate clothes, high heels. There was a difference in how I was treated. Now, that was a short study, not a long study, but it was amazing. So anyway, so doctors, cognitive bias. So we'll be addressing that at multiple touch points. It's not a one-off training. It's change management and changing a person's view of how they look at someone else and the value of that information that's being transferred. So
Can I just bring us back to the book as well, Karen, because you were on a mission to compile all of the information, but it's not that you're venting in this book. It's not that you're attacking the health system. You're trying to help with a solution and be the solution for mums, but also trying to help and advocate for doctors to embrace this so that so much money isn't wasted. Like 80%, 80% you're talking about are missed out. It's like, that's huge. Imagine the amount of money that's been pumped into the health system on that can be put somewhere else that is really needed. And just to inform and educate and embrace a new way of diagnosing people that is in line with, like, I'm not a big lover of AI, but whenever it creates solutions like this, like it saved your daughter's life and quality of life and everything in such a short period of time, it has to be at least entertained. And so the book came together so fast for you. You wrote and you were so dedicated, and it's structured so beautifully for everyone to get information as well as the story, as well as being on the journey with you and Michaela and Alana, because she was part of this as well. It's so important. But this book, what do you want this book to do? What do you want it to be?
Well, it was strategic not to name the hospital because this is not an issue of a single hospital. This is because we had 3 hospitals that did the same thing. This is an international issue. Misogyny in healthcare, women ignored, mothers ignored, parents ignored, information not being transferred. So the book will be a conversation starter. I hope it will empower people who read it, because it's really hard. I even found it hard to stand there and be confrontational to a doctor. It's not in our DNA. We're not taught that. We're taught that doctors are these special species, but they're not. They're just human who have a specialty in a particular profession. So balancing the patient-doctor relationship is really important, so if doctors read it, they need to understand how patients view how they're treated, but more importantly, the challenges the delays that it causes to healthcare diagnosis. community, I would really love them to read it so they feel empowered to have a voice, that when they know that something is being said to them is wrong, to be able to go to say and not just accept it and move on and think that it's all in their head. So that flows into the upstream, or the people movement, the app that we're developing, which will be out in 2 months. So that's been that will be a game changer in patients, or people, I shouldn't call them patients, people being able to drive their own healthcare and be able to push their diagnosis through recording of information, recording of symptoms. We're using AI. We're partnering with another organisation who can provide a different lens from it to actually help the doctor with the diagnosis. So the first part is patient driven, where they can at least be able to get not a specific, it is, epilepsy, or it is, insulinoma, or it is this. It's about these are the organs, these are the symptoms, these are the patterns. So then the doctors can interpret that information in a central spot. So you're not repeating the same thing to 5 different doctors who all interpret the information differently. On one occasion, I missed something. It's all together. So that will be an empowerment tool.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's like, the app is so exciting because it means that you can come, because I know from my own personal, and I'm going to ask from yours as well, like, was there any history of this in your family? Because I know family history is a big thing. For me personally, there was no history of this in the family whatsoever. And so they then because there's no patterns or no inherited things. So then so if you can come with an app that you've put all of the symptoms and everything in, and you've got some solutions that you can bring to the table whenever you are coming, whenever you come in, and mothers, please, I witnessed it myself. I was in hospital with my daughter on a few occasions for many weeks, and I witnessed.
We were in hospital with Kayla as well.
We were in hospital. And it's that. But I witnessed so many. I was like, no, my whole being went, no, that's not the right thing. Action, no, that's not. And I couldn't keep quiet. I had to say no. I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. And I had to verbally. And I'm usually, all right, I trust doctors because it's. But in those things, I knew every part of my being said, no, that is not the right action for my daughter. And I had to say, no, that's not, I'm not agreeing to that. And that was going against my character, but I had to do it because I knew. So don't be afraid to speak up. The consequences of it is not doesn't even bear thinking about. You have to speak up.
Oh, you absolutely do, and that's the power of the book, is for people, because there's sections in the towards the end where we unpack how doctors have become so powerful, and this imbalance in the doctor-patient relationship. Why are healthcare so monolithic and difficult to navigate? So it really informs, I think, the reader. So there's the story, but then the story delves into how have we got to where we're at. So people should, by the time they finish the book, will have this level of comfort and understanding of why we've got to where we are, and be empowered to have their own voice, and to be able to say, oh, I'd really like you. And there's polite ways to do it, but sometimes bluntness is bluntness. But to be empowered.
You can read it. You have to read the situation.
Oh, absolutely, yes. But the book is really important to for people to get the power to be empowered. The app is the next part to more of the day-to-day stuff. But if you don't understand how the system has got to where the system is, then you won't be empowered to do what you need to do in the desperate times. that you have.
And it is like desperation. You would love to have went in and had a solution, went home, and because your past experiences have been, they've worked for you because it probably fitted in a box or whatever. But whenever there's these types of situations, it is imperative that doctors work together with families to find the best way forward, instead of, because I know what it's like to feel like, oh, there's this mother, she's not cooperative, or she pushes against this. My daughter was vegan at the time and they didn't want her being vegan. So, but in that instance, she's not going to, but there's other ways to work with her, and we worked with her. There's other solutions. Do you know what I mean? And it worked. It just takes a little bit more work and a little bit more effort, which I understand. Doctors and nurses are very limited with their time, but there has to be accommodations made whenever it's required. It's so important, and that's totally the case in your case. And I just want to celebrate you, Karen, and the results that you've got, and that you've got your daughter's life back on track. Because and if it's just that one life, and now this book's rippling out, you've already had conversations with people that have helped them and their families with exactly the same things. So if there's it's not just you're creating awareness, you're advocating for this, you're empowering mothers and fathers and caregivers to have a voice and to be part of the solution for our children. Because whenever a patient is there, they're sick, they need someone to give them a voice, and it's so important. And like we have went way over time, and I could talk to you for hours, but we're going to have to tidy it up. But can you please share with everyone kind of what's from here, and where can everyone find you?
So what's from here is part proceeds of the book sales will go to establishing the charity. The charity is really important. It will be continue to advocate, and in time, I expect it to grow where it can actually support people financially. If they need urgent care. The app is critical, and that's 2 months, so we'll see that on the market. The working with universities to get into the training part of medical students, so that we're raising the issue of cognitive bias early on. And cognitive bias is not unique to medical. It happens elsewhere. Where can everyone find me? KarenPerksAuthor.com is one place. Fit and Business Writers.com.au is another place. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Beautiful. And we will have all of those links will be on kmdbooks.com /mum please help me page. And it, like, I believe that your business in grant writing and being very meticulous with data and things like that is very, very has really lent to you well with this. And it just goes to show that you cannot give up, and just to trust yourself, trust your instincts, and take action. It's worth it. It's so worth it.
Yes,
we're going to have to do a part 2.
I think if it feels wrong, it's probably wrong.
If it feels wrong, it's wrong. Trust yourself, trust your instinct. Just question it. There's nothing, it's no harm to question. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And thank you so much, Karen, for joining me. This has just been a very important and wonderful conversation that I know is going to help save a life. So thank you so much.
My pleasure, and thank you for everything.
Bye, guys. Bye, guys.